That's always really interesting in my opinion, because it kind of leads to what you were talking about earlier, where it can lead to the seed completely blowing up. But ooh, looks like we're gonna get a sword start today from Uncle. So you can tell if you're gonna get a sword, because Uncle will actually leave the house with a sword and will be laying with the sword in the escape. So we're gonna get a sword start here, and we have our bombs for escape. So we're looking pretty.
Yeah, that is an interesting tidbit of information that a lot of people may not know. If the uncle leaves with the sword, he's gonna have the sword and escape, and then they get bombs in that first chest, so they're getting like best of both worlds. You're getting a sword first off, which is fantastic, and then you're getting bombs. Like that's pretty great. That's a great start so far.
Yeah, so you're getting you're getting everything you need to start here, and I'm sure these runners are gonna love having that first sword early on. Less than a minute into this seed here.
Yeah, and I mean, you get again the sword, and then they don't have to worry about farming. So this should be a pretty good escape, and we get a nice little heart to start, little extra safety.
Yeah, very nice items here.
All right, so since the seed was so nice to start, what do you think the next? As we go through escape, there's a lot of things that can happen here. It's pretty standard. We got a few minutes of seeing our runners doing the same thing. What do you think is going to be the next important item? I'm going to go with boots.
I would love to see the mirror, especially here in escape. That can speed up your escape so fast. If you can find mirror before you get to Zelda cell, you can mirror right back to the beginning here. I would love to see mirror. Um, you know, not only for that reason, but also once you get to the dark world, there's a lot of things you can do optimally with that mirror.
Yeah, mirror is super nice, even if it's not required. Of course, it is only required for Swamp Palace, but it is a very nice mobility item. And it'll be interesting if we do get mirror to see if either runner thinks about what you just said. That's not something that I think about too often. Like you don't get mirrors so often in here. I probably would not have even thought about that, so I would have gone through escape the slow way, the normal way in slow in this case.
Yeah, but so far we have a pretty basic start here with this sword. It's one of those pretty easy items, and there is the
Oh,
bow.
wow. Okay, so that's super nice. Uh, Wow, bow and sword to start, and it's some little bit of love as well.
All right, so this is a really nice start so far. I mean, I don't know about you. I'd be tempted to maybe go right to Eastern once we're done with the Southern Loop if it's one of those crystals. If these runners
Yeah,
can
and
navigate
our
the
runners are perfectly synced right now. That was absolutely ridiculous. Both picked up the pot at the same time and killed the key, killed the guard, got the key. That was pretty great.
Yeah, I would definitely be tempted to go right on over to Eastern if these runners can pull off the two dark rooms that are there.
Yeah, the first one is it seems like every runner is learns how to do that one really early on. The second one can be a little bit more challenging, just because if you don't get it quickly, or if you're low on hearts, you can die pretty fast. If it can be very hard to get the right Igor and get that keep and continue on. So that will be interesting to see if that ends up becoming a thing. We might get the lamp, and that won't even be an issue anymore.
All right, so both of our runners are heading back through the escape now, just a few seconds apart here, and we're heading on back to see what those three chests in the back are here very shortly.
Yeah, once again, if you're just joining in, our runners got triple bombs out of the Link's house chest, so don't have to worry about worrying about getting bombs farming for them. And they got the sword out of the uncle, so pretty nicely generous start. And so we'll be able to see what's in that escape without having to worry about coming back in.
And they shouldn't need to. Oh, there's a nice arrow drop there for Jagger from killing
Yeah.
that rat. So Yeah, they shouldn't need to kill too many enemies here. They don't really need much of anything else here. Just maybe kind of knock them out of the way a little bit. You know, having the bombs, you don't really need to farm for bombs. So, should be a pretty quick end here. And
And
there's
they get
even
more
more
bombs.
bombs.
Yeah, so it looks like both runners definitely are just whacking at the enemies just to get them out of their way, so they're not taking too many hits. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so at this point, you can do all of Kakariko, including the maze game, and go down to Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave with this amount of bombs. So you can pretty much do the entire, your basic opening sequence off of these.
Yeah, no, they getting both of those triple bomb pickups, and I wonder Jagger might pick that up on his way out. It should still be there if he's fast enough, but yeah, getting all the bombs they've gotten, they should be good without having to purchase. We might see our runners buy them if they have enough money when it comes to it. Jagger just barely getting that bomb as it was about to despawn.
Alright, so it looks like Jagger is the first one out of the escape here. DarkReplica not too far behind him. And we find a shield in the Sanctuary chest. So we are now pretty standard Link.
Yeah, this is I mean, short of getting the shield a little bit earlier, pretty standard start there. I mean, the bow is a little out of place, but that's besides the point. So to answer the Wood 82 in chat, there is a rat in the room right before that final door. If there's a key on one of the rats, if you go all the way left, it's one of the rats over there. Of course, if you don't get it fast enough, they start scurrying and scattering everywhere. But that's a key that'll allow you to go to the next segment and be able to continue on with the seed. As long as you are opening every chest, of course.
Alright, so it looks like our hoarder today is dropping blue rupees, and Jagger's going to head up in to see what is in the Lumberjack Cave, and we have just a bomb capacity upgrade. So, as of yet, we don't know if Aghanim is going to be required. We still need to find either the hammer or the flippers. Those are two key items that you kind of need to avoid Aghanim, as well as, we need to find some sort of glove.
Yeah, indeed. There's a lot of places to be checking still, so won't be too worried about it yet if I was making the run. And both runners did do a good job. As we get half magic in the mushroom spot. Wow, that's nice. No use for it yet, but that's nice.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic find there.
Yeah, I love half magic. I'm a noob, and I love that half magic.
Yep, and we do see just a piece of heart here in the thieves' hideout here. So we'll be heading on into Kakariko. DarkReplica will be the first one down to Kakariko.
Yep, he got a little ahead. Jagger was chasing some rupees from the bush crab. And I mean, at this point, he's guaranteed to have enough to buy bombs and do the bottle vendor. Actually, not guaranteed, but depending on Kakariko, again, it's usually loaded with money. So I wouldn't be too worried for DarkReplica and not having enough money. All right, so we get our first look at the back of Escape as DarkReplica blows open the door, pushes the blocks, and we get a piece of heart, a full heart, and then 20 rupees, and lastly, 20 more rupees. So a lot of love and money.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before the race. It seems like Kakariko, if it doesn't have items, it is full of hearts and rupees. So, yeah.
Yep, and there it is. Lots of love and rupees.
So DarkReplica will be the first one here into the well. Jagger not too far behind. And so far, still following that trend, there's another heart there for DarkReplica.
And more money. Wow. So far, it is money and love. That is it. That 300 rupee drop is always nice to get early on. And with much they've already gotten, both runners already over 500. They're going to drop below that as they pay the bottle vendor for the fire rod.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we did get a chance to see a map check here. Eastern Palace is the green pendant. Desert Palace and Tower of Hera are both crystals.
Yeah, and with already having that bow, and going back to that second Dark Escape, as we get Blue Mel for our runners, and Zora, what does he look like? He's just a blue lizard thing. So going back to that second dark room, if you step forward just a little bit and then look directly right and fire your fire rod, you can light a torch, which will make that easier. So we get a master sword out of the tavern. Jeez Louise.
Yep, you can either fire that fire rod to left or right, or you can just immediately when you walk into that room, fire 2 fire rod shots north, and you'll light the torch up there as well.
Yes, indeed. And with half magic, they're gonna have plenty of chances to try that. As we have the mirror on the. Oh man. Okay, so that may not be required. That is an interesting item to be there.
And it looks like DarkReplica is going to be doing the maze game here. Gonna do it blind, so they're not gonna see what that item is. So Jagar's gonna have a slight advantage here, being able to save and quit before seeing that item. And Jagar will likely be heading on to the South Shore area now to go visit Mini Moldorm Cave in the dam.
Yes, indeed. And look, DarkReplica doesn't even bother finishing. Don't need that 5-arrow upgrade. And it saves and quits, and looks like they're going to be following suit. So both runners going to be on the same path still, as usually is what you see in these races. Pretty standard starts, and the items they've gotten haven't really led them to go in a different direction either.
Yeah, there's not really much that we can do with these items, so... And, ooh, there's a nice fetch quest. Got our shovel in the dam.
Yes, indeed. And I'd like to go back to that mirror, as that is an interesting item to have up there, because it doesn't guarantee boots are going to be required in the seed, because we don't know yet if swamp is a pendant or crystal. If it's a crystal, that mirror will be required, which means we will find boots at some point. If we get boots, we might see our runners go for it for a convenience, because it makes a lot of things easier. But it's kind of an interesting location for it. You can see it. You may not ever go get that item though.
Yeah, and looks like we had a red potion in the dam today, so that will open up the sick kid. And if those boots are conveniently located there, then it'd be an easy way to go get that mirror, but won't know until we
Yes.
check it.
Yeah, if they get their boots before heading to do that, or maybe possibly flute later on, it would be very convenient to go get the mirror at that point. And to answer chat, yes, the lumberjack was checked. It was a 5-bomb capacity upgrade.
All right, and there are the flippers inside of the Mini Moldorm Cave. It's a very nice find, and the hammer. So
And Zora money.
yeah, so at this point, we can go over check the Ice Rod Cave and then immediately go into our flipper stuff and be able to check everything there.
Yeah,
But,
that is a great mini Moldorm cave.
It looks like Jagar's going to skip out on that Ice Rod Cave for right now. He's going to check these locations as we see a heart container on Lake Hylia Island.
And it looks like DarkReplica is having the same thoughts. Well, nope, he might be going straight for Zora first. Not checking Lake Hylia or Hobo. Yep, that's exactly what they're doing. They're heading up to the Zora area. So we'll get a couple of different checks here.
Yeah, and I kind of like this routing from DarkReplica. If they decide to come back down here from Zora, they can go through this little whirlpool here and head on over to Ice Rod Cave, as well as check out the Hobo straight from here. Once they come back down from Zora.
Yeah, that definitely does lend to a nice routing choice there. We'll see if, look, with Jagger pulling out those bombs, making sure he has bombs, I'm curious if he's going to head to Ice Rod Cave before going up to Zora, so that he can possibly save and quit afterwards. Nope.
All right, and let's see what Zora scams us out of today.
Uh,
And more bombs.
which, you know, Dark Replica actually did. I mean, that's not what you want from Zora, but those were nice bombs to get because he had one left. But that is not what you want to see as Dark Replica does a few sword slashes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Both runners decided to skip out on Ice Red Cave. We'll see if that let's see if that comes back to bite both of them later on. That's one of those occasions where it's kind of easy to forget because it's one of those checks that, you know, you see a lot of people make early, so you never know.
Yeah, it's so out of the way if you don't have flute or boots, and it's one of those things where it's like if I don't check it, it's gonna have something. If I do, it's not. As the lamp is behind the shovel.
All right, so that makes at this point Eastern Palace fully completable. So I would expect Dark Replica to go say hi to Sahashwala and maybe dip into Eastern Palace to see what items are there.
Yeah, and Jagger picking up that fire shield, which, you know, it's a little out of the way, but that will provide a lot of safety going in for certain fights, depending on how comfortable you are with blind. It gives you a lot of protection there. So that's getting the shield is. It's one of those things where I don't think it's necessarily bad. If you're not as comfortable as maybe some other runners are, that's a good pickup. It's not, and if it prevents you from dying, that's a great pickup.
Yeah, and you know, another possibility just opened up as well. If Eastern doesn't have anything, we may get to see an Aghanim play.
Ooh, this is very true. And going back, I mean, we didn't really kind of talk on this. Eastern Palace being the green pendant, which is vanilla, of course. After completing it, which they now have logical access, they'll be able to turn in the green pendant as we get the power gloves behind the Sahashala's hut. And all we are now is Moon Pearl away from Dark World access.
Yeah. So another interesting thing here, you know, I'm kind of thinking a little bit ahead here. If we find another glove, as well as, you know, say flute and boots in here, I mean, I know it's quite a tall order. We could even see that Moonpearl hiding in the checkerboard cave in the Misery Mire area. I've seen it there many times. It's quite ridiculous.
That's just rude. Yeah, and I wonder if either of our runners would even think about that. I don't know if they're experienced enough to know that that could be a possibility. Most people only think you can use the mirror when you're in your Dark World non-traditional Link sprite up on Spectacle Rock, but that is one of the other instances where you can mirror out of it. All right, so both runners following the trail of the seed. So I mean, so far, it's kind of what I was hoping for—a nice linear start. Like it's kind of telling them, "Go here, go here." They wanted you to go to Zora. There was nothing there, but it's been a pretty linear start. Both runners following the seed pretty identically, and so far, Eastern Palace doesn't have anything too exciting. We have only seen the compass and a 5-arrow upgrade, though.
Yep, still a couple chests here, and you know, very interesting to see here. Dark Replica is going to have a slight advantage here. Jagger never went to go check that shovel to get the lamp, so Dark Replica will be able to see these dark rooms very clearly. I mean, the only one that's a bit difficult, I mean, there is that workaround with that fire rod, but still, still be a good advantage for Dark Replica.
That is something that could be huge if Jagger is unable to get through the second dark room as we get the big key right before the big chest. That's like perfect. That's great. You never want to have to run around to open that chest back up again, especially if you're only looking for items. In this case, we're probably going to see them go all the way through where it's a green pendant and they're in the area. It's kind of optimal, but we've already got both the map and compass, so we're going to have to go all the way to the Armos Knights to get all the items anyways.
So while we're navigating these dark rooms and checking these chests, what item do you want to see next? Do you want to see that Moon Pearl so we have that Dark World access, or do you want to see, you know, something a little bit different here? Maybe like a book to take them over to desert, or, you know, something like that?
I want the hook shot. That'll open up a lot.
Yeah, hookshot at this point would open up Hall of East Death Mountain and Tower of Hera with our hammer. So
Yeah, that would be nice. I would like that. And then I always love doing that and then finding Titan's Mitts on top of Death Mountain while you're up there with that. As we get the Cane of Samaria out of Eastern Palace. Whew, that's nice.
oh yeah, that's one of those items that can troll every runner down to the end, especially when they don't start with it in say escape or something like that. So good find there.
Yes, indeed. Very good find. All right, Jagger does set it up. Gets the button with one heart to spare. That's close. And so now we're going to see. Oh, he is taken off. He is not comfortable with that second dark room. And, not a lot of people that may be new to the randomizer are comfortable with that. So that could be big. We're going to see what the final item in Eastern Palace is, as well as what that green pendant holds. And Jagger, after getting this lamp, might head right back. Probably be a little frustrated that didn't check that first.
Yeah, he's gonna be pretty frustrated to see this lamp here. He could have used it 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. And, a DarkReplica, of course, having the lamp, it made it super easy for them. But for Jagger, that's why the save and quit happened. Gets the lamp right now and going to be a little frustrated, I am sure. Probably see him head right back to Eastern.
Now, did Jagger check Sahasrah's hut? I'm not seeing those power gloves yet.
You know what? He must not have. I thought he had, but that would be really interesting to have not checked that. He's gonna go turn in the red bottle, is what it looks like after getting Lamp out of that. As we get a heart from Eastern Palace off the Armos Knights.
All right, we'll see if this green pendant is worth anything.
The bottle wasn't just 10 arrows. And chat is indeed confirming that he has gotten the power gloves. And so he knows he's got them. And now we might see him head back to Eastern as the DarkReplica is going to go turn in that green pendant. Let's see. And definitely at any point, regardless of what these items are, this is time spent for Jagger that unfortunately is going to just kind of put him behind where this race was pretty close up till now.
Yeah, so the remainder of Eastern Palace does not need to be checked at this point. We saw that there were no no real good items coming from that green pendant or from the Armos Knights.
Yeah, the only thing that we do not know, of course, is whether or not it could be something on pedestal. And so, yeah, we'll have to see where our runners go now. Looks like DarkReplica is going to head for Ice Rod Cave. I can't imagine there's anything else. Oh, he never checked Hobo and Lake Hylia, so it's probably going to do all three of those, is my guess.
All right, so Jagger is back into Eastern Palace now, dodging these cannonballs, and DarkReplica heading on up to Hobo. Neither of them are gonna be pleased with this with these locations.
Yeah, definitely not. And we still have Death Mountain. There is a couple of items that we can get right now. And where it's the old man escorting him back, and then the item inside of Spectacle Rock. We know where the mirror is that could get us on top, but we cannot get it yet since we do not have that boots.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where else we can go now. There, once again, there is that Ice Rod Cave. You just mentioned Death Mountain, and I think the only other place we have is Aghanim Cave, and then of course Aghanim.
Yep, it's depending on what this Ice Rod Cave has that DarkReplica's going to, we're starting to come down to some very serious, far out of the way one-off checks. And it's definitely feeling like Aghanim might be required at this point. We got our Master Sword, we got our Light Source. Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to see Moon Pearl on Pyramid Ledge. All right, but we got a big moment of truth as Dark Jagger, wow. Jagger is heading in to kill the Armor Knights. Dark Replica is going to Ice Rod Cave. Will it be progression or will it continue nothing and it is just a piece of heart?
All right, so Aghanim is starting to become a little bit more of a worry for me right now.
Yes, indeed. That is definitely becoming more of a concern if you are either runner. And Jagger does a fine job killing the Armor Knights with just the regular bow and arrows. And it looks like Dark Replica is going to head up to Death Mountain at this point. I mean, as far as what they have left, it's the better item density. I mean, you got Agina's Cave and Death Mountain. There's 2 items versus 1.
Yeah, this is definitely the better play to go to.
And of course, you get the save and quit up Death Mountain, which is always a nice thing to have, especially once you get Flute. Jagger with some frustration slashes on that Sahashala after turning in that green pendant. I spent all that extra time running back and forth and going in the dungeon twice. Definitely a little frustrating. Now, let's see where Jagger decides to go. If they go to Agina's Cave, we might get a different check. And of course, they have Ice Rod with the direction they're going.
Looks like it might be the Aghanis Cave. We're heading... Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, so Aghanim is dead, officially dead. That is Moon Pearl on the old man. Still doesn't actually wait. No, that gives us Dark World access through a lot of places now.
Yep. So that is where the progression is now. If Jagger finds something over here, you know, in Aghanis Cave, like say, you know, something like the hook shot, that might give them a bit of an advantage when they go up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, just 5 arrow upgrade on Desert Ledge. Hookshot or boots would be a huge advantage going up Death Mountain versus over Dark Replica. And, you know, I mean, now that Dark Replica has that Dark World access, if, say, this is a progression item like Hookshot or boots, that could be a while until Dark Replica heads over this way.
So it looks like Dark Replica will be going to check out what is in Hype Cave first here. And Aghanim only having 20 rupees there. So I kind of like, you know, what Dark Replica is doing right now, going and checking, you know, Hype Cave as soon as you get that, you know, that Dark World access. You know, with as little items as we found, this has huge potential for being a really nicely dense quantity of items that we can get here.
Yes, indeed. But it starts off with just 20 bucks, 20 more bucks, a piece of heart, a full heart, and the red boomerang. So that sucks.
Oh man, so if that is an insult to injury, you get all those hearts and rupees, which, you know, which is fine, but you get the worst boomerang ever.
Yeah.
As your item in the cave.
Just the red cave.
Yeah, I'd give that a -2 out of 10.
I like what Pyre in chat said, red out of 10. That is, yes, that was a bad one indeed. All right, so they're going to finish up the last 2 items they can check on the south route unless they get Titan's Mitts. Otherwise, they will have to save and quit.
Yeah, the amount of times I've seen Titan's Mitts in that dig game is kind of ridiculous, so we'll see if that's the case again.
Yes, indeed. All right, so Jagger's going to head up to Spectacle Rock area, find a whole lot of nothing up there, and then it'll be interesting to see if they decide to go the north route into Dark World and do Skullwoods and Thieves Town first before heading to Hype Cave. If they do, with what we saw in Hype Cave, that would, I would say, be the better decision at this point with the knowledge we have. And it does look like Swamp Palace was indeed a crystal, which means that Mirror in the library is required, which makes boots required. So there you go.
All right, and looks like Jagger is actually starting out and taking that northern route first.
All right, and it looks like DarkReplica is actually going to head over to the pod area. They're coming back into this portal. I would imagine that's where they're headed. They don't have any way to get into Swamp, and they don't have any way to get into Ice Palace, so they've got to be heading towards pod area and Pyramid, and we'll see if they check Catfish.
Yeah, I think if you start over here, the plan is to go and at least check the pyramid, and then if there's nothing in pod, well, we'll be able to fully complete pod actually. And then once you're done with pod, probably heading up to finish up your route to the catfish from there.
Yes, indeed. There's a good. This is a pretty good play by DarkReplica. Pod, in my experiences, has always had something important in it, and so it's you don't want to forget it. That's for sure.
All right, so pendant in Skullwoods and Ice Palace, 5 and 6 crystals in Thieves Town and Turtle Rock, and then we know what everything else is from there.
And I unfortunately did not see what was on the ledge. Nothing important by the looks of DarkReplica just bouncing out, but I was looking at the map trying to figure out what our crystals were.
All right, so we do have Jagar decided not to go into Skull Woods. I mean, it is a dungeon to complete, but it is a pendant, so we might not need to go in there anyway.
Yeah, not a bad decision. It is a quick check, and with the Fire Rod, he does have the full completion. But again, like you said, being a pendant, I think he's going for the crystals, going for dungeons that can get him closer to completing the game first before heading into those pendants, which they're always one of those things. You never know. You never know. All right, Catfish, what do you got for us today? Is it another big waste, or is it just a heart piece? And DarkReplica shuns it.
Yeah, DarkReplica at this point has pretty much plenty of health with blue mail to finish up this seed, so not really worth going out of your way to pick up something like a heart piece that's right there. So I don't blame him for skipping that.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, he's already got 11 hearts and that blue mail, like you said, so pretty wealthy, pretty healthy at this point. And Jagar is going to head on into Thieves Town. So we will see it. And DarkReplica is indeed looks like they're going to be heading towards pod, which again is being a pendant. We got the hook shot out of the first chest in Thieves Town.
So Bradley, looks like you're starting to get your wish here. We get to see some divergence, different dungeons being completed. So yeah, this will be a fun seed to watch here.
Yes, indeed. I love seeing when players have different routing to see how it pays off, whether good or bad. I just the best part is when they do that and then they come right back together right for the final dungeon or heading up Ganon's Tower. It's great. It's great TV to watch.
So I think at this point, the big question on my mind is, where are these boots?
Now, I'm gonna have to agree with you. That's kind of knowing we need them, knowing Mirror is where it's at. It's one of those things where it's like, so where are boots? And like it may be required for other things too, but the Desert Palace and of course Ganon's. We'll have to see where those boots are. That is definitely something on my mind. Also, another big one on my mind, of course, is those Titansmiths. Those open up a lot of dungeons, and if that's something that neither runner gets for a while, we might not see them. That might help bringing them back together if that's an item that we don't see for a while.
Yep, so DarkReplica has made their way into Palace of Darkness. That very first chest has 20 rupees, so technically Palace of Darkness is bow locked, but we already have the bow, so don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, got the bow just a little early in the game, that's all.
And so far for Jagar, we've seen that hook shot, and that's pretty much it so far in Thieves Town.
It was a 50 rupee drop, I believe, was the other item, and then I think the small key, and then of course the big key in the first 4 chests. So still have both dungeon items looming, which could bode well. Maybe not have to go check that big chest, even though we do have the hammer.
Yeah, but who really wants 50 rupees when you have so much right now?
I know, as he gets 20 more. They got definitely both runners sitting pretty on rupees for the rest of the race. I would imagine, even if they do need to fill a bottle or two, they got plenty of rupees to do that. As the blue potion only costs 160, and that's the most expensive.
All right, so DarkReplica through the Gorilla's there is about ready to get these 2 chests. There's a small key there, and we have another potion. So not much on this side, just a small key, pretty standard for Palace of Darkness.
Yep, pretty standard.
All right, so Jagar's about ready to go and pick the maiden up here and finds the map. So we're definitely gonna have to check that big chest here because that compass is still out there.
Yes, indeed. I would be imagine hoping that that was the final item and go straight to blind. Luckily, it's not a huge time waste to go check this, even if it is not the item. It would be silly to not go check it when you're down here, because that would be a major time waste if blind has the dungeon item, which in this case, blind has the final item for us.
Yep, and so far Palace of Darkness still pretty standard there for DarkReplica. We'll start seeing some more items as they make their way back to the back portion of Palace of Darkness. But
Yes.
Jagar on to the blind fight. So we'll see if Jagar can stick to the script here and get that perfect blind fight. So far, so good.
Yep, great first phase.
All right, Jagar's got to be a little bit careful here, but he's got a few hearts here. And cleans it up nicely.
Very well done. And did not have to use their red potion, which is a big plus, but only gets 5 rupees for their troubles. So Thieves Town, you could have, well, besides it being a crystal, you could have left everything else in there after that hook shot.
Yep, but more importantly, that is the very first crystal of this seed picked up by Jagar at about 37 minutes in. So 1 down, 6 more to go. And
yes, indeed.
DarkReplica still just finding keys. So it looks like the Dark Maze is going to be loaded here.
Yeah, and I have a feeling they're going to have to go all the way through to Helmasaur to finish this out as we get one dungeon item.
Yep, and it looks like this chest here should be a key if, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's always hard to know. I struggle knowing when that is or isn't a key. There's a way to figure it out, so you don't go waste a key to get a key.
Yeah, the best way to figure that out is if you go into the dark room, you get on the stairs, as well as check that chest that those turtles are surrounding. If you finish that up and have 2 keys left, and have checked everything else in the dungeon, then that chest to the south there will be a key. As you need 2 keys, 1 to access the Dark Maze and 1 to access Helmasaur.
Well, there you go. So keep that in mind as you go through checking things. So far, man, this House of Darkness has not been its typical well groomed, full of item palace. We'll have to see if that continues as we get the ice rod. That's important.
Oh, that's huge. So technically, we are a medallion and a glove upgrade from getting to Trinex at this point.
Yeah, Trinix is just that Titan's Mitts and then the glove upgrade. So that is, but not getting, so with it being a crystal, getting the ice rod, that could be a pretty trolly place, but it is Palace of Darkness. So we'll have to see as Jagar is now heading in this direction if he decides to go for Palace of Darkness. If he does, then he likely will be getting that ice rod very shortly. But if he decides to bounce out instead of checking since it's a pendant, that could be, that could be ice rod troll for a while for Jagar.
Yeah, I think chat here has said it very well. I'm gonna take it a little bit of a different here. Palace of Mediocrity here for Palace of Darkness. But at the very least, this will be a crystal picked up for DarkReplica.
Oh, well, and chat is correcting me. Palace of Darkness is in fact a crystal. I do not know why I keep thinking it's a pendant. Probably because of my race last night. Palace of Darkness messed me up, and I hate it right now, so I just hate everything about it. All right, so Jagger is following DarkReplica's footsteps with the Palace of Darkness play, checking all the locations before going in, and we'll see them heading in to get their Ice Rod and maybe another important item off the Helmasaur King.
Yeah, we will have that information here very shortly, and this is probably my least favorite room in the game aside from the the Gibdo room in Skull Woods when you don't have the Canis Maria.
Yeah, my least favorite room is the entire Death Mountain Light World because of the stupid dead rocks.
But that's not a room.
It is. It's a room. It's a big room. A very open room. I'm sticking with it. All right, so Jagger is about to get their piece of heart. Bounces out, does decide to pick it up, wants a little extra love. Does get the fourth one, so it gets the 12th heart. As DarkReplica is heading on for those 12 smacks of the face shield.
Yep, it's gonna take 17 hits to that face shield, and then we'll get probably 8 swipes or even 8 arrows to the green gem there on Helmasaur here.
And pulling out the bow and arrow, Helmasaur staying pretty straight and steady, making that really easy for DarkReplica. Very nice, well done, very well done. As they get their first crystal at 42 minutes, so not too shortly behind Jagger.
And just an arrow capacity upgrade there, so Palace of Darkness. Ugh.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Ugh. That was 7 minutes for the Ice Rod. 7 minutes for the Ice Rod and the crystal. All right,
like
so we're
going to do the exact same thing here, and now if I'm DarkReplica right now, I want to go to Thieves Town and Skull Woods and check that out. You have everything you need to complete both of those dungeons. I mean, like we touched on before, Skull Woods is a pendant, but there's still 2 items in there that could be progression. You've already done Eastern, so even if the item's on Mothula, I mean, that brings you one step closer to having all 3 of your crystals for the pedestal, should that be required. Which, I mean, at this point is still a very likely scenario, but
yes,
yeah.
it is. Yeah, so there's actually quite a few items that can be on pedestal that are required for this, and we not going to get too deep into that. The only thing that can't be that's required is Titan's Mitts, as it is needed for Ice Palace, which is a pendant. So yeah, this is a pretty I think the seed, even though there was a little bit of openness just barely, it's bringing both of our runners back into what the other runner just did, and I think we'll see both of them with that hook shot head up to Death Mountain, and that's where we're going to see a lot of items. I think that's going to be our treasure trove.
Yeah, I mean, because at this point, until we find those boots, there's really not many other locations that we can check. Because the boots and the mirror, heck, even the Titan's Mitts, kind of block off a lot of the main areas that are left to check. So once we find something, the seed should kind of blow wide open, but yeah, it's definitely funneling them toward Death Mountain at this point, unless there is something here in Skull Woods, because Jagger didn't check this earlier.
This is true. This is definitely new information for us. So this could be a big. Oh, that is huge. That's a big gamble for not going into Schoolwoods for Jagger, and that it might be a while till he heads back.
Now, as of right now, that flute doesn't unlock too much. You know, we don't have those Titans myths, so that Mire area is still out of the question. We have access to Death Mountain, which you know I believe both the runners have made their way up there.
They have got their
So
save and quit.
yes, that flute doesn't really do much right now.
That's a good point. Without those Titans myths, that flute, all it does is quick travel, which is will help save time, but it does not open up any locations without those Titans myths. That is a good point. I got super excited seeing it and forgot about that. It is still definitely a required item, so it might be a while until Jagger does get that. And depending on how the rest of the items play out, may not be something that hurts him though. So we'll have to see where those Titans myths are and in course all the other items.
Yep, so we haven't found the other item here in Skullwood, so DarkReplica looks like they're just going to go right on back toward, you know, where Mothula is. Me personally, I would go and I would, you know, kind of take on Mothula at this point and hope for the other item to be on Mothula. You know, because if you go for this first chest here, then, I mean, yeah, your progression could be there and you wouldn't have to kill Mothula, but it's kind of to backtrack it a little bit, so. But looks like DarkReplica will be going and grabbing this chest here first.
That you know, I think he's trying to avoid having to kill the boss. Where I mean, we still don't know if pedestal is required or not. We don't have a book to check it. We don't, you know, and there's so many items that could be there. I think he's hoping to avoid killing Mothula, but it looks like he's gonna have to.
Yeah, it's a very interesting place to get that big key. So DarkReplica has a choice. You have to go to Mothula right now, or you go to the big key and have to risk backtracking back here to Mothula if that item is in the big chest. It looks like DarkReplica is going to go on and do Mothula at this point.
I think this is the right play. Where you don't know if pedestal is required or not. This will guarantee that you are. If you have to get the pedestal, now granted, killing Mothula is the best one to have to kill if that's the last pendant you need to kill him up to get the open up the pedestal because you're right there. But this is, I think, a right decision because you are guaranteeing that if it is required, you've already got the boss kill. So I like the decision on DarkReplica's part, as he did mess up the torches and not wanting to use too much more magic, probably wanting to save it for Mothula, is opted to use the lantern on that first one.
Yeah, but there will be a magic, you know, small magic pot up here. So DarkReplica should have enough magic to at least kill Mothula, or at least most of the way kill Mothula with using the fire rod. But you know, even having the Master Sword, it's not a terrible fight.
Yeah, and mostly full hearts, about 8.5 hearts, so shouldn't be too much of a trouble, and we'll have to see. They definitely wanted to save as much of their magic as possible, and he does have that red potion, so I don't think we'll see DarkReplica dying here, and very, very well done on the Mothula fight.
Yeah, that was very clean, and we just find the map, so the other item is in the big chest. So we'll be making that backtrack, which we'd have to do anyway, so no harm done.
Yeah, again, I think it was the right decision to go this way. And Jagger is also setting up a death warp as DarkReplica did earlier, down to 2 hearts. We'll be able to get their ice rod and then kill himself. We'll see if they decide to go with the self-kill bomb strategies as he tosses a bomb off the edge.
Yeah, that bomb wasn't good enough.
No, but that was a nice double setup for that bomb right there.
Yep, so once again, one last location to check here in Skull Woods, and one item still remains, so this big chest should have that last item. Well, we'll have this last item, I should say.
Yeah, we'll have the last item. Whether it's an important one or not is about to be determined.
And sets up that bomb jump very nicely, and it is just a piece of heart. So, only good thing coming out of Skull Woods is that flute.
And a very important item, as Mire is definitely required. But at this point, as you pointed out, it's kind of useless besides travel. So, as far as progressing the seed, it does not help at this point. So, Death Mountain is still going to be the play. Now, again, that lends the question: when does Jagger check Skull Woods? When will he get that flute?
I think it really depends on what's on Death Mountain. That flute could, I mean, at this point, be very well be go mode for Jagger. We don't know yet, but you know, it really just depends on what we find up there. If we find boots up there, that's going to unlock Mire and a lot of these other checks. That can be really detrimental. Yeah, so it really just depends on what's up on Death Mountain at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, with the way that how few items they have, like this is really surprising for version 29. You typically don't see runners with so few items at 50 minutes in. And so with how few items we have, I think Death Mountain is going to be loaded. I said it earlier, this is the treasure trove. Death Mountain, all East Death Mountain, Dark Death Mountain, it's going to be loaded.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, we're not really looking for too much for go mode, believe it or not. We know where that Mire is. All we really need is Titan's Mitts, boots. We need that Mire, and possibly one medallion, depending on what's required for Turtle Rock and Misery Mire. So we're actually pretty darn close for go mode, even though we don't have too many items.
That is true. It is a very all the items they've gotten have been pretty much items they need to be able to complete this particular seed. So it definitely has lent itself in that way and generously only giving them the required things, which is nice because then sometimes you don't have to go into pendants. But in this case, they did have to go into both Eastern and Skull Woods, which both had an important item. So you know what? Maybe Ice Palace is going to have something important. The way it's gone, maybe.
I sure hope not. Ice Palace is the worst.
I mean, it's great when you can go mode it, but if you're looking for items in it, it's terrible.
But
All right.
that is crystal number 2 for Jagger. At 52 minutes in, while DarkReplica is making their way through Thieves Town.
Yes, indeed. And now it looks like, so Jagger, with what he has, I would be extremely surprised if we don't see him head up Death Mountain for that hook shot, excuse me. And that would be weird to see them head into Skull Woods at this point, just because they have no reason to go there right now. They're probably, if they didn't go when they went to Thieves Town, he's not going to go for a while. And that's kind of the thing with that flute. Like, he might not go for quite some time, depending on what items he gets. So right now, the real difference in our runner's timing and where it may look like Jagger is a little slightly ahead is the Skull Woods play. That's about the only difference so far in our runners is Jagger did not do Skull Woods at all.
Yep, that is the only real difference here. But even without that Skull Woods play, gosh, until Jagger goes there, I kind of have to give a slight edge to DarkReplica, just because they've already made all the same checks and they have one more progression item. So
yeah, I would have to agree. It is ever so slight because, as we've mentioned a couple times already, it's not doing him any good. I mean, he will activate it and he'll be able to fly around, but it's not opening anything. It's not opening any new locations to check. So at this point, while I would agree it's a slight advantage, it's not too much. As we get our first medallion, it is the Quake. We have no idea if that's required or not.
Yeah, we won't know until we get those Titan's Mitts, which at this point, I'd be tempted to say they're going to be in the Tower of Hera. There's really nothing else we can do here on Death Mountain.
We really don't have much. We got Tower of Hera. We can check, not logically, but we can check our Spike Cave. They have that red potion. They can kind of tank it with that and refill if they so choose to use that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And Jagger did earlier set up a nice bomb jump. Went to go check Turtle Rock, but then realized they're in the light world and don't have Titansmiths to go check it. So running out of there.
Yep, so it looks like Tower of Hera will be the play for Jagger, and yeah, Dark Replica not too far away from completing Thieves Town. All we have to do is take the maiden to the boss room and fight blind. We'll see if Dark Replica can get that nicely scripted fight. Oh, and that's definitely not what you want to see here in Tower of Hera. Never
Nope.
want to do that small key, because then you know there's a good chance that you're going to have to go to that tile room in the basement.
Yeah, and another thing you run into, Jagger just did. He forgot to flip the switch back after getting the key. You either come in here with the mirror, and so you just mirror out after getting it, or you don't go down and get the item. And yes, the basement is required in Tower of Hera, but like you said, like it's gotta be a progression item, because again, that flute's not doing anything with just being the flute. So, Dark Replica gotta be careful. Oh, but it gets the final kill. Well done.
Yep, and picks up that blue rupee for their troubles, and Jagger will now be able to take a nice little break, relax his hands, his fingers, and kind of get his thoughts sorted out here.
Yes. Think about what may be the next play if this is not important. It's got to be. Tower Hera's got to have something. Progression-wise, it has got to have something unless it's in Spiral Cave.
Yeah, it could be Spiral Cave. It could even be in Spike Cave. That is technically in the logic.
Yeah, people are talking about that in chat. I thought it did require an immunity item, but they are saying that it used to, and you can, as long as you have either enough health or a bottle, you are able to have it as a logical play within logic play.
Alrighty, so Dark Replica makes their way into Paradox Cave while Jagger is heading up to Tower of Hera. Yeah, there's got to be something here. I know we keep saying it, but there's really nowhere else to go from here. I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see boots in here. Reason for that is, we could find the boots, which could take us to the mirror, which then would unlock, all of the rest of those overworld locations, like the graveyard ledge and that cave south of the grove, as well as Bunkrock's King's Tomb, of course with that mirror. So I wouldn't be surprised to see boots here.
Boots are definitely a possibility. There's definitely a few things that could open up the seed by providing that item, but it's at this point, what is it? What is it? But in the meanwhile, Jagger will be making their way towards the Moldorm, and shouldn't have too many problems with that kill. So let's see what happens. And Dark Replica is just behind them. Jagger trying to set up to go past that bumper, doesn't do it right, and falls down. Luckily, it's not too far of a fall.
Yep, so at this point, Jagger is about ready to head on into the Moldorm fight here.
Jagger electing to use the hammer on Moldorm. Definitely with Master Sword, like if you're comfortable using the hammer, it's really not too hard of a fight on the troll to be able to use it. But he takes the fall to the big hole. That's a bad fall.
Yeah, that is the worst place to fall. Unfortunately, drops you down 2 floors. So you got to make your way all the way back up there.
Yeah, and he just had one hit left, was super close to being able to get that finish off on him. He will be heading back to go for it again, of course. No reason not to, especially, you know, it's a crystal. Yeah, and he got another item on there. It would be kind of silly to leave.
Yeah, because Moldorm does have that that last item.
And again, it's got to be progression, right? I mean, it's got to be. What it is, I have no idea, but it's got to be progression.
So far, so good here for Jagar. And
Much cleaner.
DarkReplica not too far on their heels, and Jagar does take down Moldorm.
Titans mitts.
That is exactly what you want to find while you're up here on Death Mountain. That opens up all the Dark World Death Mountain. And with that Quake Medallion, like, I mean, at this point, I don't know. I'd be tempted to say Turtle Rock too.
Turtle Rock play. It's totally Quake is totally Turtle Rock. And honestly, you know, if it for Jagar's sake, that might be something that is good because that would mean DarkReplica is going to do it. So, you know, it's not going to lead him further away in behind because those Titans mitts are going to open up a lot of things for both of our runners, of course. But it also opens up the Mire area for DarkReplica, and where Jagar doesn't have that flute. So if Turtle Rock becomes available to our runners, we might see both go in there, which that flute won't be benefiting DarkReplica at yet. Of course, it still is an advantage because he has it, but he won't be able to take advantage of that item until if he decides to go into Turtle Rock after he finishes. So that's something that could help Jagar keep this race from getting blown open, depending on how long it goes to get that flute.
Yeah, definitely. But you know, I still want to say I do give the you know, the advantage just because of that flute and those Titans mitts. Still over to DarkReplica. Jagar needs to get over to Skull Woods and pick that up, and you know, hopefully does that soon.
Yes, that is definitely it. And the problem, though, with that being Titans mitts, it opens up now Ice Palace, which that, you know, could be something that Jagar decides to do before School Woods. That's, you know, I am uncertain if that is something that the decision that he will make. From some of the races I've seen him in the past, I believe he would go School Woods before Ice Palace in this situation, if he does not find Boots, which leads to Mire or something in Turtle Rock. So.
Alright, so DarkReplica takes down Moldorm, picks up their crystal, and it is Quake for Turtle Rock. So we'll
Yeah, makes
probably get a
sense.
chance to see that.
Yeah, definitely. And Jagar definitely going inside. I would assume, again, you have everything you need to complete it. It is just Master Sword, but with those Titans mitts, you got Hookshot Cave open as well. So probably going to check that before going in. Probably hoping for a sword upgrade to make Turtle Rock better. Other than that, you're not going to get much better things out of before going in at this point to make Turtle Rock any easier or completable.
Alright, so far in the Super Bunny Cave, just gets a bottle, not much else here.
Nope,
And
but you're getting those checks out. And again, I think, you know, hoping for a tempered sword upgrade to make the fight easier. Master Sword is definitely something that can be quite the pain on Trinix. They do have half magic, so it won't be as bad. And there's the tempered sword. So going into Hookshot Cave will definitely make Turtle Rock easier.
we did pick up silvers there, so this is the Cave of Ganon Slaughter.
Yes, it is the Ganon Killer Cave. Forget Hookshot, it is the Ganon Killer Cave. All right, so that definitely makes Turtle Rock a easier play for sure. Getting that tempered sword, I know Jagger is not the most comfortable with doing Master Sword Trinex, so I'm sure he's breathing a massive, massive sigh of relief getting that, and because Master Sword Trinex is not fun.
No, definitely not. Master Sword Trinex is, I mean, it's doable. You know, with that hammer, I mean, that's the better option to use, but that hammer hitbox is atrocious.
Yeah.
So Master Sword, even Fighter Sword Trinex is awful. So having that tempered sword will make it so much easier.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it looks like DarkReplica is probably going to do the same thing. They will have to go back into the light world to open up Turtle Rock. Their routing made it so that they were checking to see if it was Quake before. They should have gotten Quake, right?
I believe so.
I am trying to remember. I was not watching their stream when they were going through East Death Mountain. So I'm not 100% sure as we get Ether out of Turtle Rock. So there's our second medallion, making Mire more possible to be open at this point. Just one item, one medallion away from it not mattering. Oh, DarkReplica is not going into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I think DarkReplica is going to go ahead and get that flute activated and head on down to Misery Mire.
All right, so if Mire is Ether required, this might be what brings Jagger's lack of flute to negatable, and if not, maybe in his favor. That is, you know, it's Mire, Turtle Rock somewhere that DarkReplica will go eventually, I'm sure, probably before going into a pendant. But that could be something that is going potentially helps Jagger moving forward. And of course, if there's any other important items in here, boots, which I think that really is the only thing that would be possibly it, would be boots, because we know that leads to Mirror or the other medallion.
Now we could even see some of these other fetch quest items like the mushroom or the powder that could even lead there, or even the cape, because I don't recall either runner checking the bumper cave ledge either. So could see some items here that, you know, while may not be, you know, the most ideal per se, but could of course lead to some sort of progression.
Yeah, and you know, everybody loves powder. No matter how comfortable you are in this game, everybody loves to get powder because it gives you that assurance that you can always get a fairy, you can always take care of your health, and you know, going through dungeons like Turtle Rock and then of course Ganon's Tower as well, that's always a little brutal. And having that powder definitely makes it better.
Yep. So DarkReplica, we're about ready to see if this flute is going to be a huge deal here. Heading into the Mire Shed, and you know, there's one of those items we were talking about. There's that cape. So, I mean, And did we see what the medallion was here?
Is Quake.
It is Quake.
And
Oh
he did
boy.
get Quake, so that does not bode well for Jagger in terms of helping bring this back. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hurt him more. It just means that Quake is the only requirement for medallions.
And at this point, yeah, that flute, that's definitely going to be hurting Jagger. Got to find their way into, got to find their way back into Skull Woods here.
Yeah, that flute is definitely important. I mean, we'll see. Mire may not have anything more at all, but you know, it's a crystal. It's progression, and it's if there's nothing in here, it's nothing too important besides just being a crystal.
Yeah, and interestingly, so far, Jagger has not found anything here inside of Turtle Rock. We still have, you know, a couple locations here to check. That laser bridge is... Ugh. and just narrowly misses that fire bar.
Using the hook shot to perfection, being able to avoid everything, messes up the routing a little bit, but gets it fixed before too much and doesn't take any extra damage. Should be able to make it down and get the safety door. Oh, DarkReplica, though, takes a death in Mire. That's never something you want to see, even especially having that red potion. That's, it's not the worst place to have died, but you definitely don't want to die there. And Jagger almost dying at the worst place possible in Turtle Rock. Oh, man, that would have been bad. Bez gets the kill on the red jelly and is going to be able to get the safety door. That was pretty close.
Yeah, that was definitely a close one there for Jagger. Had an unfortunate occurrence in the exact same situation in their race last week here in Turtle Rock that caused a pretty much a soft lock where he had to quit out and lose about 10 minutes of progress. So
yeah, that happened in their race last week, as you pointed out, and it was pretty bad. And doing laser skips without mirror shield, without any invulnerability, can always be a little frustrating and hard. And Jagger's struggling with it right now. Probably getting a little tilty at this point, but gets the first chest and the key. Will probably continue going to get the rest of the items.
yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, takes another death. That's why of course Jagger did take that safety door there. It's all about knowing your limits. If you're comfortable making these laser skips, then by all means, don't take that door. But he did get the mirror shield there, so don't have to worry about these last couple chests.
Now that is interesting to find the mirror right there because and the boots. Okay.
Okay, so that's gonna be the boots. That is definitely a interesting item to find there. Kind of goes back earlier because those boots are going to lead to the mirror, which is going to lead to a lot more of these overworld checks. And unfortunately, probably won't go into Skull Woods anytime soon now.
It also opens up Swamp Palace, which he'll probably go into Swamp Palace before going into Skull Woods area. So that is, while a very nice item, probably super happy to find that. We know probably not the best thing for him to have found. That is bad. But on the other side, that means DarkReplica won't be finding those, so it won't be something against him as DarkReplica gets red mail out of Mire.
Yeah, very good find there in Misery Mire there for DarkReplica. Red mail, while not 100% required, it's definitely one of those really good safety items. And that Jagger's gotta be really careful, and unfortunately takes a death to Trinex. But we do have DarkReplica making good use of that potion in Misery Mires, getting ready to check these last couple locations, trying to find these items.
Yeah, definitely trying to do that and see if Jagger's able to make his way through here, getting just banged around by everything right there.
Yeah, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jagger pop that red potion before going into the Trinex fight, considering, what just happened.
Or at the very least, use it when he takes his first or second hit, depending on if he gets hit by the head or what. Much better start.
Yeah, nicely gets to avoid the little ice beam there from the ice head of Trinex.
Very well. Much better phase one for Jagger there, and did not have to use the red potion. Should be, all sweets and deliciousness from here on out. Oh man, he does not want to die at this point though. The safety decision. You have plenty of rupees. Definitely can refill both those bottles if you need it. So good decision to ensure that you don't die on the boss.
Yep, and that is Trinex down for Jagger, and DarkReplica is on their way back to Vidi here in Misery Mire.
Yes, indeed. Now, interestingly, this also opens up the big bomb for Jagger. So he's got so many places to check that it might be quite some time before he heads back there. And Dark Replica knows what Turtle Rock is. He knows what the requirement is, but he will have to go in there at least twice. Well, no, once. He can finish it all in one swoop like Jagger did, but he'll have to go in there before going to finish off Swamp Palace. He doesn't know where those boots are, so this could be a long check for him for those boots. He has less locations to check, though, because of the lack of mirror access.
Yeah, I'd say this definitely works in Dark Replica's favor. Unfortunately for Jagger here, once again, not having gone into Skullwoods to pick up that flute, Dark Replica doesn't really have many locations left to check to get those boots, and really to find any more progression. The options that Dark Replica has are the of course the smiths and the purple chest, and then as far as dungeons go, do you go to Ice Palace or do you go to Turtle Rock?
I mean, if you're Dark Replica, you go to Turtle Rock.
Yeah,
It's a crystal. I mean, and that's exactly what he's doing. Might see a Spike Cave check on the way. It looks like that's what's going to happen. We're going to see that Spike Cave check. But yeah, you definitely really interesting that Dark Replica didn't do Turtle Rock when he was up here first. It's adding a little extra time to his time right here by doing it this way, but it was an interesting decision.
yep. And here we have Jagger heading on to, like you had called it, going into Swamp Palace. And yeah, what's really going to make this interesting, once Dark Replica picks up those boots, shortly thereafter they'll get their mirror, and we'll pretty much be in go mode then for Dark Replica.
Yes, indeed. I mean, once they get the boots, that's in all sense and purposes go mode for Dark Replica, as they gets the powder out of the Spike Cave. So there we go.
Yeah, and that's it's gonna be another thing here that's gonna hurt Jagger as well. Once again, once Dark Replica goes and gets those boots to be able to pick up the mirror, they'll be able to go mode Swamp Palace. They'll be able to, pretty much go mode Desert Palace once they get that big key as well. So these are gonna be some really much quicker dungeons for Dark Replica.
But interestingly enough, Dark Replica is not going into Turtle Rock. Did they miss-see the requirement? This is really interesting because they were just up Death Mountain, just got the powder. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting here.
that is a really interesting decision on Dark Replica's. I mean, we'll have to ask him if he just maybe thought it was ether or I don't know. That would explain why he didn't go in when he was up there, because that was his opportunity to go in when he was up there. But I don't know.
Yeah, well, being in Spike Cave, if you find the powder, I mean,
Okay,
I
he
can see
might
what
have just
Dark
remembered.
Replica did here. Well, no, I can see what Dark Replica did here. They got the powder up there. You had to save and quit anyway. You had the flute, so you can make that a really quick check before coming back up here. Because if the powder is, say boots, if that's what happens, then you don't have to come back up here because you know where the mirror is. You can go and finish those other dungeons.
And you can save Turtle Rock for last, which brings you closer to Genstown when you get your final crystal. Okay, yeah, I think that might be it, because since he indeed looks like he's heading back to Turtle Rock, I would have to agree that that's probably what his reasoning was. And that's really, that's a good, sound reasoning, too. Like, I think that would definitely make sense in his situation.
So it looks like it will be the play onto Turtle Rock for DarkReplica. So they'll be picking up their boots once they get to the laser bridge. And unfortunately for Jagger, gotta find that flute. That's all Jagger's looking for right now. And then, unfortunately for Jagger, not really finding much of anything here in Swamp. And we know where that last item is for them. Now, for DarkReplica, they are on their way into Turtle Rock right now. So it's just a matter of time before they do pick up their boots on that laser bridge.
Yep. And then I mean, at this point, in all sense and purposes, they're in go mode. They're going into the dungeon that will give them their final item to get them the mirror. So they're going to be. I mean, you can't. There's not much go mode in Turtle Rock, but the thing for him is he won't have to check. No, depending on how he checks the laser bridge, he won't have to check every single chest. Depends if he goes from the bottom to top like Jagger did, which if sets up that safety room again, most likely we'll be seeing him check all 4. So pretty close to a full clear Turtle Rock for DarkReplica as well.
Alright, so there is the Ether Medallion for DarkReplica and that big key. Alright, so Jagger does find the mushroom here in Swamp Palace. And DarkReplica having a little bit of trouble here in the Chain Chomper and gets closed in by those blue blocks.
Oh man, he's just taking some beating from them. Oh boy. Luckily he's got that cape. He's gonna be able to get out of here with no problems. But man, those chain chomps, they are just downright rude. All right, so and kind of going back to your mushroom, that is another thing that's bad for Jagger. That's another place he's gonna check before going back to Skull Woods. Yeah, it's definitely at this point the DarkReplica's got, I would say, a more significant advantage than he had just a few moments ago by having made the decision to come into Turtle Rock. And with Jagger having a full clear swamp, DarkReplica is going to be able to blaze right through that.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, so I'll be kind of interested to see, what the reasoning was for for Jagger not going into Skull Woods when they were there. I wonder if that that dip back into Eastern was like maybe one of those things where he said, well, went into Pendant Eastern when I didn't need to, so I'm not going to go into any other Pendant dungeons until I absolutely have to.
That could be it, and he may be a little tilted that's the way things worked out for him, and so that could definitely be something that's going on the back of his mind. We'll have to see, though. He is mirroring out and is going to maybe head into Ice Palace. Oh boy, that's definitely not good. If he's going into Ice Palace, this is going to put him really far behind because he does not need to be in here at all. He might be checking Ice Rod Cave. He never did that, if I remember correctly.
And nope. It's going to be into ice. So this is definitely not, unfortunately for Jagger, this is not the play that needs to be made right now. Yeah,
this is, I mean, barring catastrophes on Dark Replica's side. This could be the end for Jagger. This is going to be a long dungeon. He just full cleared swamp. He's going to full clear ice, looking for that flute. And yeah, finding those boots was the absolute worst thing that could have happened for Jagger there. I would say that this was the wrong decision to come into ice, but that's only because I know Flute was in Skull Woods. From his perspective, the routing makes perfect sense. You're already in the area. It's a quick check to come. It's not a quick check to check Ice Palace, but it's quicker to get into Ice Palace. And if it's in there, it's the right play. We know that it's in Skull Woods, and so that's what's hurting him. And it would take longer to get there than it did to get to Ice Palace. So, this is definitely an understandable decision on Jagger's part. And, it's hard to say it's the wrong decision because we know that it's the wrong decision.
Yeah, and, also in Ice Palace, there's 3 total items that can be in here, so there's still that item advantage as well.
Yes. Yep. You got the item density.
Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, it's, do I go and do Ice Palace, or do I go and do Overworld, or do I go and do, Skull Woods? And, like you said, Jagger was right nearby Ice Palace after just completing Swamp, so it makes sense that the Jagger came.
Yes, indeed. And Dark Replica gets his boots, and which is a pseudo go mode, as we know. He knows where the mirror is, which will be his final item, which will be go mode for Dark Replica. But he does have to get the key, so he still checks every single one of those. Does not go for the safety door. So as long as he doesn't take a death, this will be a very, very well done Turtle Rock for Dark Replica.
Yep, and then once Turtle Rock is done here for Dark Replica, all that will be left at this point is finishing up Swamp Palace and Desert Palace.
Yeah, definitely 2 very quick dungeons. Swamp Palace probably quicker depending on where that big key is. And Dark Replica tried to powder a fairy, but was not able to do it and actually ran out of magic, and so he was not able to get that fairy refill. So we'll go in with a few hearts, and I believe he has used his red potions, so he's gonna have to be careful. He does have red mail, so he does have a little bit of a safety advantage there.
Yep, now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Dark Replica do Tower of Hera as well?
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Yeah, Dark Replica so far not having any problems with Trinex. Does have that ice he's got to be careful about, making this a little bit harder. But with the Tempered Sword and Half Magic, is able to take care of both heads and onto the final phase. So should not be too much of a problem from here on out.
Yeah, very good start there to the Trinex fight. Got just a few more slashes here, and we will be done with Trinex.
Yes, indeed, and just playing Ring Around the Rosies, very well done. Gets the kill on the big lizard rock creature thing that we call Trinex, and gets his 5th crystal, if I'm not mistaken, if I can count right, and I believe I'm counting right.
Yep, that is crystal number 5, so Swamp Palace, Desert Palace, all that's left for Dark Replica. We know where the mirror is, we have access to both of those. It'd be smooth sailing from here on out.
Yes, indeed. And that mirror is all that he needs to be able to finish the seed, as it opens up both Desert Palace and Swamp Palace for him. And again, they'll be pretty quick dungeons. Once Jagger is able to get that flute, he's not too terribly far behind. He's not going to be... If he goes to Skullwood after Ice Palace, he could still be in this race. He'll have a little bit longer of a dungeon in Mire to do, and they both have Desert. So depending on what he does after Ice Palace, if he goes into Skullwoods and gets that flute, this will still be a close race. That he needs to go into Skullwoods right after finishing Ice Palace, though. He's getting close to being done with it, though.
Yep, so, I mean, Yeah, once again, the unfortunate thing for Jagger right now is, he did already, full clear Swamp Palace. Swamp Palace, you can literally go through and pick up nothing but the small key under that skull pot in that main room with the big chest, and you're pretty much set. So, unfortunately, Misery Mire is just a slightly longer dungeon, but we'll be able to save a little time because Dark Replica did full clear Misery Mire.
Yeah, and I believe it was a pretty kind mire. It wasn't quite a god mire, but pretty sure the big key was at a pretty nice location. So, when he goes to mire, he will be in go mode. So he'll be able to go quicker through that. And Dark Replica, folks, is officially in go mode.
Yeah, it actually was a god mire. That big key was in the spike room, so be perfect for Jagger once he goes there.
So, which will make mire a lot quicker than it was for Dark Replica. So that's going to help balance it out. But he has to go to Skullwoods right after this. If he does not go to Skullwoods right after this, then it's going to be a lot harder for him to make any type of chance of getting a win here. So up until then, up until that decision, we'll see what Jagger does. This is definitely Dark Replica's race. As a very nice location for the big key as well. Very good cold stare fight for Jagger there. Unfortunately, we know it was an unnecessary fight, but very well done. You making great use of that tempered sword and the half magic with the fire rod.
Yep, very well done. And yeah, Dark Replica is off to the races now. Just have to finish up, Land Molus and go straight back to Argus and Swamp Palace, and we'll be on to Ganon's Tower.
Yes, indeed. All right, so Jagger saving and quitting to Sanctuary is the right place he's needs to go. Probably gonna see him do the King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks, and then maybe we'll see him head into Skullwoods. He might, there's always the possibility that he could do dwarves. He could do the purple chest, hammer pegs. He's got a lot of overworld things to check, and when Skullwoods is the play that he needs to do.
But on a more positive note, Jagger did just find the single best arrow in the game.
Jagger, this is great. He realizes where he's at. He's gonna hop over and check and turn in the mushroom. He'll be able to fill his bottles. At the same time, imagine we'll see him do that. So not a terrible decision here. This is the most optimal time to turn in that mushroom without having the flute.
And Dark Replica having a pretty good Land Molus fight, takes them down just like that. One more dungeon to go for Dark Replica, and we'll be off to GT.
Interestingly, Jagger is opting not to refill his potions. He was right there, but doesn't refill them. But, we'll see. But he does go back to Sanctuary, probably going to see Bonk Rocks check. And then from there, where does he go? Does he make the decision to Skullwoods? He'll be about one dungeon behind if he goes to Skullwoods right after Bonk Rocks. And a not terrible mire either. It's not a terrible mire at this point.
Nope, and Dark Replica is making their way down to Swamp Palace now, and Jagger finds the blue cane, that cane of Burna.
Which could just lead him to more overworld.
Yeah, but I don't see Jagger going all the way back up to Death Mountain just to check, Spike Cave.
Yeah, he's going the right direction right now. After the portal, if he goes north, he's got a chance. If he goes south, it's gonna be bad. There we go. There we go.
All right, so Jagger is about ready to go and pick up that flute. Will probably be really frustrated that he was so close to it so early on.
Yes, indeed. And so he will very shortly be in go mode, be getting his flute very quick here. Very nicely gets past all of those. I struggled with that room. I need to get better at that. Great use of the hookshot there as Dark Replica is entering into his final dungeon in Swamp Palace. And there's our flute for Jagger. That is official go mode for Jagger. Does he realize it? Yes, he does, and he's out.
All right, so it is off to the races now. Jagger has a couple of really quick dungeons. Desert Palace and Misery Mire will be pretty quick. Unfortunately, though, so is Swamp Palace. So by the time Jagger gets into those dungeons, DarkReplica may be onto the Argus fight, so we may be a couple dungeons back.
Yeah, he will definitely be very, it's not an insurmountable disadvantage. That is for Jagger, but it's definitely an advantage in DarkReplica's favor. Jagger's definitely gonna be huffing and puffing. The nice thing about it being Mire and Desert Palace, it's bang bang right next to each other. He doesn't have to flute after. He can if he does Mire, mirrors over to Desert Palace, boom boom, and he's off. And very in his favor, lucky to be able to have a good routing in that respect. But as you pointed out, Swamp Palace is extremely fast in go mode. As we see, DarkReplica is gonna just go right past all of the entire dungeon right here. The entire dungeon, just completely bypassing it. And Jagger is not even checking Mire Shed, which is going to help him. Just the little things that he needs to do. He realizes he needs to go, probably feeling pretty far behind because of that Skull Woods misplay.
Yeah, seeing that flute where it was, knowing that you went and cleared a dungeon that you didn't need to go and clear, also finishing up Eastern Palace, which didn't need to be finished. I mean, fortunately, DarkReplica did as well, but Jagger doesn't know that. Having done that double dip, missing on the flute, going into Ice Palace, Jagger's got to feel really far behind right now.
Yeah, and he's probably at this point, I would say maybe 5 minutes. With the location of the Mire Key and also the Big Key in Desert Palace, both were very generous. So he should be only 5 minutes, which, Tempered Sword, Half Magic, Silver Arrows, that's a pretty significant time difference still. But, Ganon's Tower, left side, right side play, that could be a big time save if DarkReplica goes all the way left and it's right side, and that's the way Jagger goes. So this is definitely not over, for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So we may get a chance to see some gambles come out of Jagger. Will we see that desperation tile room? Will we see a gamble as to where to go for that big key? It'll be really interesting to see here what decisions Jagger makes. Like I said, he's got to feel really far behind right now.
Indeed, as Jagger gets his Big Key, he's going to go straight back for Vitreous, as DarkReplica finishes off Argus. So, folks, that is our final crystal for DarkReplica. And RJ, what does that mean?
Well, there's this little guessing game, if you will, that people like to do. It has to do something with this, some sort of key. There's 22 locations in Ganon's Tower that might hold the big key.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? So, of those 22 locations, people like to spam numbers in the chat thinking where that key is going to be. If you want, we can throw our guesses out there. So, where do you want that key to be today, Bradley?
Oh man. To make this an interesting race, I want it to be in the vanilla compass room. So right side, where the disappearing floors. Jagger goes right, DarkReplica goes full left, and goes there last. That, I think, might bring this to a pretty even race if both runners execute well throughout there. So for DarkReplica, that would be like 21.
I'm going to be the evil one and say tile room, because nobody, believe it or not, nobody in chat has said tile room, so I will be that person.
I'm disappointed, chat. There's always somebody that says it, so at least we got our commentator being the evil one. Jagger gets the kill on Vitreous. That is crystal number 6. We'll be able to have a quick straight into Lamos, as DarkReplica does get Deadrock. So the little things like that, if Jagger can have a clean Death Mountain run, those little things might bring this race back to a more even kill. So got to keep an eye on those types of things. Oh, actually, yep. Trelty did say 22. That doesn't necessarily mean trial room. They could check trial room first. So, you know, I'm not. That doesn't count. I'm not counting that one as trial room, anyways.
All right. Well, Dark Replica is on their way to Ganon's Tower. Jagar into desert right now. Is gonna be finding that big key here very shortly. It's in that first chest here.
Yes, indeed. It does the same thing that Dark Replica did, so we'll have to see. We'll get a time on Dark Replica's entrance into Ganon's Tower and see how far Jagar is behind when he enters, and that'll give us a pretty good idea of where these runners are at. So, 140-20 for Dark Replica, black screening into Ganon's Tower.
All right, so let's see where this big key is gonna be, and it is the first chest.
Chest number 1. Okay, so
okay, here's something really interesting. Dark Replica didn't take the time to go pick up a key. If there aren't 2 keys if there isn't a key in one of these chests, either before Moldorm 2 or those 2 chests before that bombable wall, Dark Replica will have to go back to the basement to get another small key.
oh man. He didn't even check the other chest in that room. Like that is a crazy gamble. That could be huge because that's going to be a massive time loss for Dark Replica if there is not a key in one of those chests.
Yeah, that decision, if there isn't a key, could be the race here.
Holy cow. Holy moly. You get the perfect Ganon's big key and you forget your small key going up the tower. I mean, how often are there small keys in those chests? I don't think that's very common.
Yeah, it's a lot of keys like to be in the basement. So
yeah,
for Jagar, what Jagar needs to do coming into Ganon's Tower once they find that big key, because I don't see Jagar going immediately left. Those 2 chests on the right are pretty standard checks. What Jagar needs to do is just go to the room with the that conveyor belt. With
the pot. And I know I've seen a race for Jagar before where he did the same thing Dark Replica just did and neglected to go get a key, and he went all the way up. So I would be surprised if he lets himself fall into that trap again. He was pretty tilted afterwards. So this is big. If there is no key, that could be totally tilted in Jagar's favor. Depends on how well he does. You know what I mean? There's always execution, but oh man.
Yep, so Dark Replica is making their way through the gauntlet. We are getting so close to seeing if that small key is in these chests. Dark Replica has got to hope that one of those chests has a key.
Is this something that he even knows? Like, I mean, like a lot of times, like you rarely get Ganon's big key so early that you don't have a key. Is this just a innocent mistake, or is this a gamble of a lifetime?
I don't know. I'd be inclined to say that it was more of like a mistake. I mean, I don't really want to call it a mistake, but it's definitely something that there can be mental slip-ups here. In Ganon's Tower, you see that big key is like, oh man, muscle memory takes over. You switch to that mirror, or whatever, and go right up Ganon's Tower. So
yeah, I would be inclined to feel the same way. Don't want to call it a mistake as well. Blunder might be a better word for it, but that is definitely not good. If there is no key, Jagar getting deadrocked twice by that same deadrock. That corner, I hate it. That's why I like to go to the dark portal first. I hate dealing with the deadrocks. They're the worst things in the game. But Dark Replica has no magic. Is he gonna have to use his blue potion here?
I don't think Dark Replica is gonna use that the lamp here to light these 3 torches.
Yes.
Well, even with the magic they had, they could have lit this 3rd torch and then go all the way down to the bottom and pick up the pot. That's still enough for a fire rod shot.
Correct. Yeah, he does get it just fine. Is able to get through there. All right, we're getting to that moment of truth, guys. Is there going to be a key? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it looks like Jagger is going to be maybe 2 minutes in, say 10 or 12 seconds behind.
Oh man. Okay, so here we go. 10 arrows. 5 arrow upgrade.
Oh
Oh,
no.
this is a
DarkReplica.
gamble, I think. I think this is a gamble.
The key has got to be in this chest. Jagger.
Is he doing his thing? Oh no! I can't believe he's doing it.
There's
It's
no
not
key.
a key.
No.
Oh my gosh, Jagger! Oh man.
That is what Jagger needed,
That
made the
was
exact same play.
I even said it. I can't believe it. I cannot believe that he did that. He's done it once before and it tilted him beyond belief, and he just did it again. Oh my gosh. So when this could have been a race within a matter of seconds because of DarkReplica's decision, it is now a race for DarkReplica to win. He's got the advantage because of that key. Oh my goodness.
I don't even know what to say right now. It's how often do you see something like that? I mean,
both runners. Oh my goodness. Just one key. All you needed is one key. Both of them. Oh man, I think it's just the excitement of getting that early big key, and you mental lapses. I don't know though. DarkReplica might have made a gamble. He sword slashed at the arrow upgrade as if he was hoping for a key, or maybe he realized halfway up, and oh man.
yeah, this is definitely going to be one race that these runners are going to have to go back and watch. This is a crazy finish to
A
one
great race.
crazy seed.
Yeah, and people in chat have mentioned it really is like, it's how often do you get the big key without a small key, let alone in the very first chest. Oh man.
But DarkReplica is back into the gauntlet now. Jagger is on Land Mullis too, having a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, can't quite get them releasing the swords. A little bit too early there. Does get the second and the third one right as it's about to dive down.
And Jagger just realized it.
Okay, that helps. That he's not too far up. He doesn't want to make the gamble at that point. He was pretty far, but he wasn't all the way.
Yeah, didn't go too far, but Jagger's still in this.
He's probably about 2 minutes behind, which, that's one, maybe two falls again with Tempered Sword. Oh man, he's probably feeling really upset about himself right now though. Oh man, I can't wait to ask these guys about their Ganon tower.
And I mean, all things considered, it's very rare. I mean, especially in a setting like this where both runners are pretty much in the gauntlet at the exact same time.
Yeah, this is definitely
really
a super
race.
close race. All things considered, even with both runners doing what they did, this is a super close race.
So at this point, I think Jagger just needs to execute out of his mind at this point and hopefully does not let that small key slip up, affect his race. Continue on down here and try to make some time up on DarkReplica here.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's gonna go back in. I don't think the fairies. Oh, they do respawn if you mirror out. That's right. All right, so now Jagger's heading back on to the front, the meat of the gauntlet, as DarkReplica's finishing up the Wizrobe's room for the second time. We'll be heading to the torch rooms next.
And still in pretty much the same magic situation they were in before. It's got a little bit more, but should definitely have enough with this lamp here.
Yes, indeed. And yep, follows the same pattern he did last time. He's gonna be just fine getting down there. Yeah, I gotta imagine. I can only imagine the pounding of the hearts for both of these runners. They've got to be feeling so like, oh my gosh, like how have I not lost, or have I lost? Or oh man, like the pressure and the intensity in this moment has got to be so insane for both of them, especially having made the decision they did, the mistake they did, or gamble.
Yeah, both of them were probably thinking, my opponent is on Ganon right now. I've lost this,
Yeah. Oh, very, very well done. Land Molest 2 for Jagger. Land Molest 3, actually.
Yeah, that's the third time Jagger has fought Land Molest Seed.
Oh, man.
And
that was a clean one. That was a clean one. All right, so DarkReplica's on to the troll.
Yeah, a very clean Muldorm 2 fight for DarkReplica. It's going to come down. Aghanim execution, Ganon execution. This is so close, guys.
This is definitely a very intense race. That room for DarkReplica was perfect. And we got about a 128 disadvantage or advantage for DarkReplica after leaving the worms number 3. So this is, I mean, that's one fall and or bad execution. This is pretty crazy.
And so far, not having too bad of an Aga 2 fight. Jagger's right on their heels.
Very, very well done.
We have it. Aga 2 down. Jagger is in here trying to find, trying to get that key there, and there we go.
Kills the wrong one, and the right one trolled him, kept bouncing him into the corner. But there we go. DarkReplica gets the Aghanim 2 kill onto Ganon, as Jagger is about to head into Muldorm. Does not have the powder, so he cannot parry these. Oh my gosh.
All right, so here it is. Ganon for DarkReplica. It's gonna be 12 swings or 6 spins in phase 1, and 12 swings or 6 spins in phase 2.
Yeah, off to a good start, and that cape is going to be a advantage for DarkReplica. He'll be able to use that and just blaze through this second phase, where Jagger, if he chooses to use the Cane of Burna, will be a lot laggier. So that is very important, and as DarkReplica pushes to phase 3, this is definitely going to come down to if he can have a clean final phase. It should not be a problem. This is the easy part, as long as you don't make any mental mistakes.
One more hit, we'll be in phase 4 here. Nice double there for Jagger. Ganon not being kind with these teleports.
No, he's not, but both runners, actually, with the way it went, will both runners get the same teleports? I believe so. Another double for Jagger, very well there, and DarkReplica gets the first hit and first arrow on phase 2. Does not get the torch glitch, but that's not too much of a problem with silver arrows.
Gotta be a little careful there. Nice dodge of the bat.
Does not get the arrow there, and does... Oh my gosh!
Whoa!
That would have been so bad for DarkReplica, because Jagger just finished up Aghanim 2 and is into Ganon, and I believe that is the third arrow for DarkReplica. Oh my goodness. A double
there
for
you
Dark
have
Replica,
it.
and that is it. Just make it across that fanfare. Do not fall, please.
Oh boy, what a race this was. So it looks like Dark Replica has finished with a time of 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 50 seconds. GG to Dark Replica.
Very, very well run. GG for Dark Replica. Gets the win. Goes 1-1 in the Swiss stage, and you know that fall may, if he had fallen, that may have cost him the race. But he is able to, excuse me, he's able to not fall just barely and gets the win. Finishes off the big pig and goes on 1-1. GG's to Dark Replica.
All right, we do have Jagar into phase 2 here, using that lag cane, and is now into phase 3.
Yeah, should be, you know, I said this last time and we almost had a fall. Should be easy from here on out for Jagar. I imagine he's not checked the speed racing TV at this point. You're so close. You're going to keep on running.
Yeah, this was an intense race here. Both runners forgetting that small key in Ganon's tower.
Absolutely incredible.
All right, so it looks like Dark Replica will be joining us here for an interview very shortly. Jagar is going to be finishing up the Ganon fight here. Oh, got hit. Oh,
no. Oh, no. Oh, man, that's going to tilt. And he does not know that he's lost. I would imagine he's not checked speed racing again. So that is going to be super tilting. Unfortunately, it doesn't, you know, I guess fortunately, it doesn't hurt him in this particular instance, sadly. But he's definitely not going to be feeling happy about that.
So, I mean, let's kind of go back over what happened in this race. You know, we started out with that sword. We got that early bow even. And then there for a while, it was, you know, the search for those Titan's mitts.
Yeah, it was the search for the Titans mitts, and they were in Tower of Hera on the Moldorm. Yeah, we had a sword start with triple bombs in Link's house, so it made no need for farming. So very, very nice escape, and we got bow as well. So it was a pretty nice escape. All right, so Jagar, now that he does not have that blue potion, is going to have to be a little bit more safe with his magic usage. Does not want to run out, even though it is silverless, or silvers. Does not want to have to run out of magic where he's already at half.
Yeah, we should be close to getting into phase 3 here very shortly for Jagar.
Yeah,
Playing it really safe here, making sure not to waste any of that magic.
Just a couple more. Here we go. On to phase 3. Got 3 more jumps at it. This time, probably see him be a little bit more careful. Not as aggressive. Does not want to fall again. And it looks like we have been joined by Dark Replica. And see if you can hear us. Are you there, Dark Replica?
All right, I do believe that was Dark Replica. Hello and GG on that race.
Maybe Jagar does got to be careful. He's down to 1.5 hearts. I believe this is his last hit, though. So just get that arrow into the pig, and you're good. And there it is. He gets the final arrow in and the kill. And we'll get his official time here in just 1 second. And Jagger does finish with an official time on SRTV of 1:59.34. GG's to both runners once again. That was an exciting race. Oh my.
Yeah,
So as Dark Replica is getting his mic set up, we'll probably get Jagger in here after he takes a breather in a moment. So after that Titans Mitts, that's where everything really kind of opened up and turned in favor of Dark Replica, because he went to Skullwoods and got his flute, and that was the item that ended up hurting Jagger down the stretch.
Yeah, that play into Skull Woods, this would have been a much closer race. Unfortunately, had Jagger made that play first. I mean, I do have to give Jagger some credit here. Having dipped Ice Palace, going all the way through there, having full cleared swamp as well, really kept this race really close, and it was a nail biter coming down to it.
It really was, and oh man, going, so like you said, full clear Ice Palace and Swamp Palace, those are very long dungeons that Dark Replica didn't even have to do.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there's Dark Replica.
There
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, GG is on the win. Congratulations,
Thank
going
you.
1-1.
Thank you. GG's to Jagar as well. Man, I
So-
was shaking through that whole Ganon fight. I was so
Oh, I
mad at
bet.
myself.
You almost fell too. I can only imagine the nerves that you were feeling at that point.
I was like the first time I went up to the through the gauntlet, I was on PB pace. I was really happy with my execution, and like that gauntlet was amazing. And then I got just after the first torch room, I was like, I forgot the key. Damn. And
Yeah.
and then I'm sorry.
No,
And-
you're good.
And then, like, I was, okay, let's just see if I'm really lucky and there's a key, but of course there wasn't. And then the second gauntlet, I was already like, oh, I threw it away, and the whole gauntlet was terrible. It was really terrible.
Yeah, what was really interesting is both of you got that big key and went up the gauntlet. Jagger was picking up pretty much picking up the big key and heading into the gauntlet as you were getting and checking that chest right before Moldorm 2. So it was super close.
Yeah, and we are indeed joined by Jagger. GG's on finishing, unfortunately going 0-2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as you heard, we were just talking, Dark Replica's talking about that, both of you getting so excited about that big key in Ganon's tower. You realized it after Landmola's too, though. He went much further, and this race was, really throughout the whole race was really close.
Oh, that's good. I don't feel as bad now. That's a pretty terrible mistake, so I don't feel as bad. Thanks for making me look better there, Dark Replica. I appreciate it.
Thanks to you too. It makes me feel a bit better.
Oh man, I did a lot of bad things there. I thought Ice Palace was a crystal, so I full cleared it, and then I got the pendant, and I was like, oh, it's a pendant. Okay.
Okay.
We were wondering because you were still looking for Flu, and that's the big difference in the race is you didn't go into Skull Woods until near the end and got the flute, whereas Dark Replica got it before heading up to Death Mountain and getting his Titans Mitts. So that was the major difference in this race, and it was still really close even with that. And so for thinking, we thought you were just checking Ice Palace because you had just finished Swamp Palace right there.
Well, that would be okay, but there's only 3 items in Ice Palace, and it takes a long time, so I normally wouldn't have done that. I thought it was a crystal, and yeah, I just foobarred that one.
That makes sense.
But overall, that was a good race, man. I'm excited to continue this tournament, even though I'm 0-2. It's fun, it's a good time, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and even being 0-2, you still have a shot to make it to the bracket stage. You just got to win. Pretty much just have to win out, and that's definitely possible. You showed some really great execution. Both of you did today, and that bracket stage is still in the grasp for both of you.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can win out. I mean, it's not that hard, right?
Yeah, if 5 in a row, you got this. And for Dark Replica, you only need to go 4-1. Of course, you would rather go 6-0. I'm sure that would guarantee making it in at a much earlier pace than the 7th week.
I mean, that would be awesome, but I don't really expect that. Beforehand, I was going in like, if I go, 2 and 5, I would be really happy. Now I hope maybe I can get 3 and 4, but if I get that, I'd be really glad already.
Well, yeah, there you go. If you're halfway to 2 and 5, so the way both of you really had some really good execution throughout and made some good decisions. I think both of you could definitely get some wins under your belt and maybe make it to that bracket stage. It will be a tough challenge, but it's always a possibility. There are 116 people that qualify for that, so
It's exciting. I appreciate the commentators, Bradley, RJ, Dark Replica. I really appreciate a good match. It was fun. And Notch and how do you say this guy's name?
I've been saying Snack.
Snack. Yeah, Snack. We'll go with that. Thank you, Snack, as well.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to all of you.
Restreaming it. Synac. Aha, it's Synac.
Synac. Okay, there we go. We got the confirmation. It is Synac. All right. Well, before we go ahead and close this off, for both of you moving forward, Dark Replica, you are 1-1. How are you feeling with your with everything going forward?
I'm looking forward to the rest of the race, of the races, and I'll just see where it ends. I am enjoying it a lot. I've started running in December, so not too long ago, and I feel like I'm improving a lot. I'm training quite a bit, so yeah, I really like it.
Oh, there you go. That's not bad. It's just starting in December. Well done. And Jagar, 0-2, you're not out of it yet. But how are you feeling about your chances moving forward?
Oh, obviously they're low, but I got to keep my confidence high and just keep trying my best, and we'll see if I can win out.
Awesome. All right, well, I will go ahead and sign off and leave the last words for my co-commentator, RJ. I have been Bradley. This has been a fantastic race to be a part of. I loved it. It was great. It was super close throughout the whole thing. It was super enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoy rewatching your VOD.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. I'll sure watch it back. I hope it's excited as you make it sound.
Yep, this definitely was one race that I definitely encourage both of you to go back and watch. Once again, it was very close all throughout. Once again, GG, Dark Replica for taking the win here. Jagar, still next time, but great race there, great execution. Can't wait to see where both of you make it in this tournament. So, yeah, with that, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here from the commentary standpoint. So I've been RJ. I've been joined by Bradley. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out here and watching this race here between Dark Replica and Jagar. And just want to send a quick little shout out to Notch, our fantastic tracker, keeping up on all the action today. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and sign off here and head on out. So have a great night, folks.